sorry.
I'm so sorry to start off the stream. Yep. Okay. Alright, we're back. Last of Us Part 2 finale.
Yep.
Getting
We're gonna
right
play
into it.
tonight until we're done. We shouldn't have too much to go.
We're
though.
23 hours in, so
It feels like we're in the
I don't
end.
imagine we have too much to go. Last time you watched the last hour of James fumbling through the resort.
Well, that was really frustrating gameplay, not gonna lie. There wasn't any way to stealth that. Literally. No way.
Frustrating to play and watch.
Yeah. What was I supposed to do?
Run.
Well, I mean, literally, what else could you do besides run through? Like,
There's nothing else. Unleash the Walking
the
Dead.
sheer amount of people. I'm just impressed that because I said one more playthrough, and if I don't go on, then I'm done. And then the last time
And then you did it 2 more times.
Actually did it.
No, I'm pretty sure you did it like 2 more times.
Oh, maybe I did.
Just one more. They always
I'm
say.
just glad we got it done before I
They always...
had to leave. I don't think any other part's going to be quite as frustrating as that. But. Loading screen.
Gotta wait for the butterflies to load the game.
Are those butterflies or fireflies? That's what I've always
They look
wondered.
like moths to me, or something, I don't know. Probably fireflies. They should be lighting up, though, if they're fireflies.
Alright. Yikes. Only one bullet.
My phone's dead, so I won't be able to look at chat. So, if you're chatting in the chat, just know that I'm thinking about you in my heart. Oh.
Oh,
Oh, she hit her in the bad spot.
yeah.
Ow. Ow. Oh! Got her.
Oh, boy.
Unlock the door.
Come on, let's go.
Hey, where's Abby? She's bit.
Keep back.
Hey, don't put that fucking thing in me.
Hey. Abby tried to escape. She's down in the pillars.
The pillars?
Head down to
That
the
doesn't
beach.
sound good.
You won't miss
Nope.
it.
The pillars.
She's probably already dead. Come on.
What world does Abby survive this, or Ellie survive this? She's bleeding out some. I mean, she stitched it up, but
Yeah.
it's a bad wound.
Yeah.
Where are you? Abby.
Imagine we have like 30 minutes left.
We're getting close.
Um,
I feel. Oh, I can't even run anymore. Oh, yeah, I can. I was thinking it wasn't going to let me run.
I think that lady.
Oh, boy.
Oh, it sounds like the prisoners are winning.
I can't even listen.
You can kind of hear them. Oh! I think that lady split it open again.
She may have.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, she's bleeding in her hand.
To the beach.
Oh, yikes.
Oh, they burned it. That was quick. Oh.
How did they manage to do that so quickly?
I would assume there were some explosives or something in there. Oh, my.
Wow.
Oh, the Radwars are much worse.
Abby?
Outlast 2, who?
Pretty sure.
Oh, I thought that was her.
Thought that was her, yeah.
That guy's a straight up skeleton. That's a yikes.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
Jeez.
Something ate him, or he's like been there forever or something.
Okay, can't go that way.
Gotta go
Keep
to the
going this
beach.
way.
Yeah. Oh. Oh, that's Abby.
Dang. All her hair gone.
Abby said the next time she saw her, she would kill her.
Yeah.
Something like that.
She doesn't really
She doesn't
have
have any
that
of
ability.
those.
Dang.
Oh.
Oh, man.
Abby. I got you. I got you. There goes this way.
Huh.
I had a feeling that she might end up helping her. Although, who knows how long this will last. They both have the same goal right now to get out.
They're just both so weak. I don't see this ending.
No, I don't think either of them is gonna... Yeah, I can't run anymore. Scrub.
I was kind of joking when I said 30 minutes left, but now I'm thinking she only had like 30 minutes. Oh man.
It's barely even been like 5. Oh!
There it is.
There's the boat, okay.
2 boats.
Yep.
They just go their separate ways, probably. Where do you even go? Ellie goes back and Dina probably rejects her. Abby's trying to find the fireflies, so.
Is she gonna even care about finding the fireflies
I
at
don't
this
know.
point?
I rather doubt it. I don't know who there is to trust at this point.
Seems like literally a lost cause. Who knows if that person on the walkie-talkie was even trustworthy?
I can't let you leave.
She never forgets.
No. I'm not gonna fight you.
Oh.
Yes, you will.
Oh.
He's not a part of this. You made him a part of this. Okay.
Dude, how is she not? Sliced every part of her arm open. Oh! Oh! Wow, this she is strong.
Yeah.
Lord have
It's
mercy.
impressive considering how.
Stabbed her in just about every part of her body. Oh my god. Do not stand up again. Are you kidding me? Oh. Ow, ow, ow! That's it. Dude, Lev is still there. What would Joel do?
I would kill her.
Yeah, he would. That's a good point. He would kill. That was a bad fight either way.
Yeah.
Should not have done that.
Just take him.
Wow, could you actually imagine surviving that? Lord have mercy. are on the ground.
I know. I'm gonna look up and see if there's another door open.
I don't think Dina and the kid were there anymore.
What are you drinking?
Coffee.
Where'd you get that?
Those people that came through last week. I'm a little embarrassed as to what I had to trade to get it, but not bad.
I had Seth under control.
Yeah, I know.
And you need to stop harassing Jesse about my patrols.
Okay. Dina. Is she your girlfriend?
No, that was just one kiss. It doesn't mean anything. She just, I don't know why she,
But you do like her. I have no idea what that girl's intentions are, but I do know that she would be lucky to have you.
you're such an asshole.
I'm not trying to.
I was supposed to die in that hospital. My life would have fucking mattered. But you took that from me.
Somehow the Lord gave me a second chance at that moment. I would do it all over again.
Yeah. I don't think I can ever forgive you for that. But I would like to try.
I'd like that.
Okay. I'll see you around.
Yep.
Right. What's that do something?
I noticed Matt Mercer.
Yeah.
I'm just a poor, wayfaring stranger, traveling through this world of woe. There is no sickness, no toil, nor danger in that bright land to which I go. I'm going there to see my mother. She said she'd meet me when I come. I'm just a going over Jordan. I'm just a going over home. I know dark clouds will gather round me. I know my way is rough and steep, but beauteous fields lie just before me, where God's redeemed their vigils keep. I'm going there to see my father. I'm going there, no more to roam. I'm just a going over Jordan. I'm just a going over home.
I'll soon be free body red in the old churchyard. I'll drop this cross of self-denial and go singing home to God. I'm going there to see my Savior. I'm going there, no more to roam. I'm just a going over Jordan. I'm just a going over home. I'm just a going over Jordan. I'm just a going over home. I'm just a going.
Right. I don't want to say my piece because I feel like we have two drastically opinions on this game. Drastically different.
Really?
I already have that feeling. I don't know why.
Interesting.
Just give me your thoughts and we'll see.
Well, I personally thought this was better than the first one. Now I have some critiques about it, but I'm going to go ahead and give my positives. I think story-wise, while I liked the first one's story, the first one, in my opinion, had a story you more expect out of a zombie story, like trying to find a cure and stuff like that. Whereas with this one, I think the story definitely was not zombie connected hardly at all. Like, the zombies almost had nothing to do with it, which could be considered a negative by some. But I actually liked that aspect. I think the zombies in it added to the intensity of it a bit. But I liked that the threat in this was a lot more human-centric. Now, Noah's, another thing, which we might have to talk about this more in depth, is that I said near the beginning of my playthrough, of our playthrough after Joel died, that I was worried that this was going to be a typical revenge story. And it had those elements in the beginning of, like, you know, these characters going out for revenge, or Ellie's going out for revenge, and I thought the way it would end would be predictable, like her not really being satisfied. And while it did end that way, I liked how they ended it a lot better than I thought I would, and I think including Abby in the story helped with that. I think it helped seeing it from both their perspectives and offered a much more nuanced story than I was expecting. Because I was like, why does this person get the right to kill the main character of the first game? But she turned out to be a pretty interesting character in her own right, and I don't know, I think that was really interesting to follow. I have more thoughts, but I want to hear what you have to say first.
I mean, yeah, since we're talking positives, I'm actually surprised that we have more in common to say. I mean, for positives at least, obviously we're probably going to say the same stuff. But, like you said, I think the story was really well done. Despite the fact that they killed Joel super early on, I was consistently impressed at how good they did with, like, sort of honoring his memory to a certain extent, making sure that he was still there. Even though he was dead, he was really still an integral part of the story throughout. I mean, it's cool that they used they sort of used his death as a motivation for the story to a certain extent.
Yeah.
But yeah, that there's a lot of things I could say about the. I mean, we'll go into negatives after, but other positives. I'm probably gonna look at the gameplay a lot more than you would.
Oh, I have some things to say about the gameplay. I was just getting the story stuff out of the way a little bit.
If we're talking story, yeah, I really like the story overall. I think it was a very well done story. My main problem with the first one was that it was very not cohesive at all. It felt like we were kind of skipping and jumping around. That's probably just due to the technical limitations of the time. There was a lot of skipping and jumping between time frames and.
I thought this one did that a little more than the first one, honestly.
No.
With all the flashbacks.
Well, yeah, but the flashbacks were, in my opinion, way better done in this one.
Okay.
Because
I'll talk about that in my negatives because I sort of disagree with you there, but
I
a
think,
little bit.
I think the flashbacks were way better done, but not because they. I think they didn't break the story. I think they connected. I think they did. Maybe the flashbacks weren't so fluid, but I think the flashbacks worked in that they made us learn. It kind of connected the missing dots even from the first one and from before the second one even. There was a lot of stuff in between that we didn't get to know about, like, me and you both just loved that part where they were in the space museum or whatever.
Oh yeah, that was good.
That's one of those parts that was like, yeah, that was a flashback, maybe it broke it apart, but that was one of those.
That was the best part of the game still, in my opinion. That flashback was my
I actually
favorite
have a
part
part that I liked better, but I think for the fact that, like, the flashbacks, some people maybe don't like flashbacks a lot, but I thought they were exceptionally well implemented in this game, just because of how good they made the characters. Like, you could have just not included Joel in the story at all, but just having all those characters, even Tommy to a certain extent. There was one part with Tommy. Flashbacks with Abby, not so much. That's kind of.
I agree.
But the flashbacks with Ellie, Joel, and that one with Tommy, where maybe the sniping one, but overall, I think the story was exceptionally well done. So, yeah, those are my story thoughts at least.
Now, since we were talking about flashbacks, I do agree with you that the Abby ones I largely did not care for. I think, honestly, almost everything we needed to know about her was able to be known in the present.
Yeah.
Like, I think we got the implication that she liked, what's the guy's name again?
Owen.
I think we got the implication that she liked Owen, but, I mean, the story told us in the present that she obviously didn't get with him, because that other woman got pregnant.
My problem with Abby, and I guess we can kind of conversate that, I think they tried a little too hard to make us feel sympathetic for her, and her situation. I mean, her character was decent, but, I mean, you said you liked her. I overall didn't really like her character, and I didn't really care for any of the parts we played as her, personally.
That's fair. I mean, I liked the Ellie parts better. I think they flowed a lot better, and her story had a more purposeful momentum with it. Abby, now, the one, I think it was pretty effective that they established that her father was the surgeon that we killed in the first game.
That was
I
cool.
think that was
cool.
effective. I think that made us care a little more because both me and you felt wrong about killing the surgeon in the first game. Like, even
and we had, and it's kind of those cool story implications that you would never think about. Like, when we were in that first one, I mean, when people played it back in 2014, they probably never knew that 6 years later they would find out that this was a key character. And that's kind of cool that I don't know if they thought that far ahead or if that was a thing that they retconned in for this one, but whatever the case is, they did really good with that.
Yeah.
For sure.
I mean, it was definitely really hard, and I think I liked this, but it was hard to play as Abby because we were playing the person who killed Joel.
Yeah.
And we had to, and the game forced us to see things from her perspective.
Yeah.
Which I think adds to the whole super, super, super grim tone of this game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the first game was pretty dark,
Yeah.
but this one was a whole lot darker.
Very different. Yes.
And yeah, I don't. Abby's not nearly as good of a character as Ellie, but I did like. I think the relationship between her and Lev was really good, and I would have liked to have seen that appear earlier because that was the best part of her character was her sort of finding redemption and
Yeah.
being with Lev.
And
Now,
yeah.
about the religious cult, I'm conflicted on the religious cult aspect because while those characters were actually pretty creepy the first time we saw them, I think they wore out their welcome. Really.
Yeah.
I think they wore out their welcome really fast.
That's what I'll talk about a lot of that in game.
And honestly, I think a lot of the human villains in here, besides the WLF, who were necessary, I feel like a lot of the human enemies were very disposable. I think most of that whole epilogue with the ones that were using the zombies for fun, I think most of that could have been shortened drastically. Because that ending part of the game really dragged, in my opinion. Just having to deal with that new set of villains who we barely see at all, and who don't really matter in the long run. We only go there to get Abby. I think the ending could have gotten to the point a little quicker, is what I'm saying. In fact, I generally liked the epilogue of us finding out that Ellie did have that idealistic ending, and then it turning that on its head as she went out to get revenge again. But everything after that could have been trimmed a lot, in my opinion. That ending fight with Abby was great. Everything with the ending fight with Abby, up until the ending, was 5 out of 5 storytelling there. But the stuff before that, I didn't care so much for.
Yeah. That's kind of what I was leading into. I generally think that up until, even to a certain extent, all the way up, I guess it was like 13 or 14 hours or something of Ellie's story, I was 110% enthralled with the story.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for the first 14 hours were just absolutely phenomenal. And honestly, you can make a $60 game 15 hours, and I'd be fine with that. The first one was 15 hours. It's like, $60, big price tag, but if you make it good, it's worth it.
Yeah.
So, I loved the first 14 hours. There were some good parts with Abby. There were some really good parts with Abby, but not... I 100% agree with you. That's what I was going to say, was that I completely agree that the ending was obnoxiously dragged out. And I'm sure that has partially to do with them wanting to make the game last longer. It was some artificial content padding that was not really necessary at all. I'm sure they just wanted to make it longer just for gaming reasons. I don't know. I don't think anybody... I think it's a myth that people want games to be longer. Nobody wants to do that one part with all the people in that manner for an hour, which is essentially the last hour of our last session was.
If they had some different stuff for you to do, sure, but it was the same beats. You are trying to get to another location, getting to a goal, and there's some people in your way, and you have to either stealth or kill them. It wasn't any different from any other part of the games.
Now, what I will say about the gameplay is that, I mean, I think me and you both agree that from an objective and at least an objective standpoint of us, is that this was obviously overall a massive improvement over the first game in pretty much every way, shape, and form.
Yeah.
I know people have a soft spot for the first game, but I wasn't huge into the first game just because a lot of reasons. It flip-flopped everywhere. I think this game was much more cohesive in its gameplay. It knew what it wanted to be, I think. I think it knew what type of game it wanted to be, rather than trying to double up a story about zombies or infected or whatever. I guess they're really not even zombies. We still never really learned about all that stuff, which I was kind of disappointed about.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
But that's kind of the big mystery of the game, I guess, and doesn't really matter in the end to a certain extent.
Yeah.
But overall, the gameplay was much better. My favorite part of the game actually is you'll be looking at this much more from a story perspective, but my favorite part of the game was when we went down into that subway with all that red lighting
Oh, that was
and
good.
all that stuff.
Yeah, that
But
was
the
good.
reason that part was my favorite part of the game was because of that moment when you were able to use the clickers to take out those people.
Yeah.
That was a part that was honestly the part where my opinion of the game changed from I'm sort of interested to like I am full on board, because just knowing they did something like that, like that part for me was just, it was such a small moment, but I think that small moment just like sold how, just sold the like, I guess the world to a certain extent that you can use it. I don't know. I love that part so much, and I think that was definitely my favorite part of the game, the space part too. But I absolutely think that they nailed world design from a perspective. They nailed the enemies. There still weren't a lot of enemies, but you know, like you said, the infected weren't even that important. They were just more of to be there as part of the world, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if I'm thinking of an overall rating, there are very few things I had wrong with this game personally, aside from the ending being too overdrawn and Abby. I still even enjoyed playing as Abby just because there's I really enjoyed the world, like just exploring around and all that stuff. There were so many little intricate little details and stuff like that. You could just go into any room and there would be something interesting, which is one of the things that an open world game requires. If you're going to make someone go explore somewhere, you've got to put something interesting there. And I personally felt that everywhere we went, there was something interesting. I don't know how you felt about that, but I felt everywhere was something interesting.
Yeah. As far as gameplay went, I do agree that this was definitely an improvement. And some of the repetitiveness of, like, the first game suffered from a repetitiveness of having to take out zombies in the same way almost every time.
Yeah.
And the zombies got super repetitive because you always saw the same ones. I liked that this one had a variety of them and introduced them in increments. That made the game a lot more interesting to me, and it made things a little more exciting seeing new creatures. I thought the combat was more interesting in this one too, getting to dodge and using like the traps, the rope traps or whatever a little more in some ways and things like that. And the gun, there was a lot more gun variety too, I think. So yeah, I liked it from that perspective.
I mean, it was essentially the same guns, but the guns were way better to use.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just technology
Yeah,
advancement.
yeah, it was smoother. I mean, the first one was still impressive for its time. But yeah, overall I did like the gameplay better in this one. Like I said, my main problem was that the combat with the human characters got really repetitive, especially having to fight the same types of humans over and over again. The amount of freaking scars that we had to fight was ridiculous.
Yeah.
I didn't think there needed to be that many. Same with the WLF, honestly, when we were playing as Ellie. I almost thought it was too much. And those ending humans just didn't need to be
Yeah,
there.
I mean, yeah, that basically the whole epilogue didn't need to be there except for that last fight. That whole last part could have been one 15-minute cutscene and I would have been just as good with it.
Yeah, yeah. But, as a whole, I did really like this game. I think it was really well done. I think, story-wise, just going in the two perspectives and showing revenge and from two different characters' perspectives was really interesting and gave this story a bit of an edge over other revenge stories like it. I thought that Ellie is just an excellent character, one of the best video game characters
She's
I've ever
such
seen.
a good character. And Ashley Johnson, I think is her name. She just elevated her character to a whole new level.
Yeah.
Her character's writing is just so good.
And of course, Joel was great in this. I appreciate that the game didn't make his death just a cheap shock value thing.
Yeah.
That's what I was worried they were going to do, because the way they did his death was pretty dang gruesome. Still not sure how I feel about him just dying simply from being tortured and not getting to defend himself at all. That doesn't feel right, but I know that's what the creators wanted us to think. They would think you want Joel to go out in a blaze of glory, but that's not what happens. So.
And to me, it definitely felt right for the type of world they
Yeah,
established.
and I
But-
agree.
I said the same thing about Red Dead 2. You and Samuel both didn't like the ending, and I thought maybe I didn't like the ending of that game, but I felt that it fit the world that they established, and it's the same here. Even it sucks that Joel had to die, same it sucks that Arthur had to die, but I think for both those scenarios, it fit the world that they were trying to establish.
I agree. I agree.
Which you can go about that either way, but at the end of the day, whether you, I mean, you can hate the death all you want, but to me it made sense that he just gets beaten and tortured by some random people. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. I didn't like it either, but I mean, like you said, I mean, I really respected that they went for the double perspective. It's hard, it's very, very hard to do a video game from two perspectives. Because you have to make someone like one character and then like another character.
Yeah.
So,
Of course, with these characters, they made them very morally complicated, like
Yeah.
Joel. Like, you're not really supposed to root for either of theirs ambition just to wipe the other person off the face of the planet.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, the best part about this duo of games is that you're always sitting here like, I don't know, it just always feels, it's felt like there's never really a protagonist.
no.
You know, it's
Mhm.
always felt like you're supposed to look at it from an outsider's perspective, and like you're almost kind of seeing what people would do wrong in this scenario. It's like, and that's obviously the point of the game, is to be like, this is what happens if you want to take revenge. Like you said, the fear of it being a revenge story, they kind of turned on its head by making it seem like she wanted revenge, but then in the end, yes, Joel probably would have killed her, but she thought like, what would Joel want me to do?
Yeah.
And it's kind of like all those little nuances of like these characters, they never do things out of character. Like, I thought it was super out of character for Ellie to go get revenge, but then seeing what they did after, like making Ellie realize that it was a mistake, I thought that was
Yeah.
exceptionally well done.
And what made this revenge story work to me was that it was more about each character's relationship to the person they lost more than it was about them getting revenge. So
Yeah, that's a good point.
a lot of,
actually.
I
That's
mean,
really good point.
Ellie's was all centered around, like, we saw a lot of her interacting with Joel and stuff like that, and that was a lot more what her story was about.
Yeah.
And with Abby, it was about, like, well, not just her relationship with her father, but her, like, finding a sort of redemption in Lev and being able to be with him and everything like that.
Yeah.
Which I liked. I just liked that both characters sort of found redemption in a different way. Like,
Yeah.
they didn't both find it in one way or the other.
Yeah.
Very, yeah, just really. As far as a rating for this goes, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. I think it was. It's not like the most masterful game I've ever played by any means, but I think that this game had a lot of good stuff. Had an interesting theme and a really good story, and once again, the characters were great, which
Oh, yeah.
I'm so thankful, because that's what I liked the best about the first game, and they're once again great here. So
Yeah. I mean,
4 out of 5 for me personally.
this game, yeah. I'm gonna. It's exceptionally rare for me to put this type of rating onto something, but I'm gonna slap a solid 4.5 on this sucker, because games do all this complicated stuff. I feel like this game took us back to what I feel like this game encapsulated everything I love about video games, like advancements in technology. Can talk about all the exceptionally detailed mechanics that they did, this character's story. It's a post-apocalyptic game at the end of the day, but I think they once again they made something that stands out, and they took a lot of risks.
Yeah.
but it worked for the first one and it worked for this one. They both of the games had an exceptionally open-ended ending, and it worked for both games. I think so.
Yeah.
I don't want a third one to leave it at that.
I don't see
That's the perfect. That's
how
the
they could
perfect
make a third
ending.
one. Yeah. I'm even more curious now as to what the negative reaction to this game was for, because I know on the internet a lot of people just, and when the game, I know before there were already some negative reactions because
Yeah.
of the leaks, which I didn't look into. I really hope it wasn't because I know a lot of people were mad that they made Ellie gay, but I mean,
No,
that's just sad to me. That
the
people were mad about that.
95% of the reason people hated this game was because of Joel dying. That was the reason everybody hated this game.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, that's interesting.
I mean, you can go onto Metacritic, and it's probably the single biggest disparity in critic ratings versus user ratings. And if you look on the user ratings, 90% of those user ratings have not even played the game. And, Metacritic has no viability in video games because you can look at those reviews and 90% of those people probably didn't even play this game. They just went on there and made hate to just make hate. And, yeah, there was some hate over, I just can't even fathom. Some people said that Naughty Dog was trying to, I don't know, it's like some of the things that people said about, Ellie being gay and all that some people were saying they were trying to make this a feminist culture game or something like that. There were some things that people said, like they were trying to be like, I don't know, it's just some of the things people said. Playing the game now, it makes no logical sense. It's just clear that gamers are just flung over their heads too far gone with all this hate that is given to games for basically no reason except for preconceived notions of one single part can ruin something for anything.
Now, if the game was banging you over the head with look how progressive we are or whatever, maybe I could see it, but I don't think the game was doing
No,
that.
not at all. I didn't see any
even
part.
Lev is a transgender character, clearly.
Yeah.
And I don't think that was pandering. I really don't. I think he was a great character, and they developed him well, and that reveal was actually, I thought it was pretty powerful, honestly.
See, there was one part where I called him a she, and I realized immediately I spoke out of turn because I was like, oh. I didn't realize at first, but once I realized, I was like, oh. And they never said it again. There was one part where they were like, this is what happened. They didn't even really outright say it.
They didn't say it at all, really.
And so they kind of made it... It's just one of those things that just people are so nitpicky about, and it pisses me off.
Now, I suppose...
Can't do anything about it.
You could see the religious cults as being, a poke at Christianity, which...
People didn't even talk about... that. The cult was so not the reason people were talking about this game.
And, I thought the cult was interesting, but that was something I think could have been de-emphasized on. At least it wasn't the emphasis of the game, like with Outlast 2, because that just got tiresome, like the religious cult aspect, and it was so obvious what they were doing. With this, I feel like
it wasn't even important.
It was
really.
Pretty subtle, and it was done well enough that the cult aspect didn't really bother me. So
yeah, and it really I don't know.
But yeah, I don't really get the hate for this. I'm just gonna have to look up and see if there's any genuine criticisms that people have, because I'd be curious. I just don't really see how you could call this game a bad game. I don't think I could see some people having maybe a problem with, like you said, playing Abby for a part of the game, and maybe that makes the game feel a little too long. But I don't. This isn't a bad game.
No,
it's not.
I think you will be hard pressed. I think you will be hard pressed to find people giving legit criticisms. The only people that I can possibly see giving legit criticisms are people who were not paying attention to the internet. And there are very few people that didn't pay attention to the internet when this game was getting leaked. And when people saw the
I
leaks,
swear, wasn't there some sort of rumor going around that Ellie was going to get revenge because someone killed her girlfriend? Wasn't that something that was going around on the internet?
I don't know.
'Cause-
There were so many things that went around when the leaks came out. The leaked footage was actually legitimate, but the leak came from a hack. Like, people thought there was some disgruntled Naughty Dog employee who was like, our game sucked and I got fired and this is why. But it was just some random hacker who, I don't know, wanted to ruin Last of Us Part 2. And based on its sales, there was really nothing that could have ruined this game's sales. Like, it's actually incredible. Like,
It's clear so much care went into this game with
Oh,
the
yeah.
storytelling and stuff. It didn't feel... Nothing about the way they told the story felt super lazy to me.
Yeah.
So.
it really it did feel like this was kind of their passion project to a certain extent. Like,
Yeah.
Naughty Dog's made so many games, and I think this is obviously their best one. I haven't played a lot of their games, but I've played a couple, and this is, from a story, gameplay, everything perspective, I think this is their best one.
I imagine we'll be in the minority for saying that this one's better than the first one.
Oh yeah, I mean, people are going to say this one's worse just because of one small event.
And I acknowledge that part of my bias for not rating the first one lower is because I've seen zombie stories like that. And when it was out, when it came out at its time, it was a pretty fresh story, I'm sure. And maybe I would have liked it better then, but I just like this game better. I think it does everything better for the most part.
Yeah, I think they realized that the characters were like so much more important than like, because the first one, like you said, was all about like the infection and all the infected and stuff like that. I think this one just, they realized that like the characters are way more important.
Yeah.
And obviously, making a zombie game in 2020, you can't make it about the infected anymore.
It just isn't interesting.
It doesn't work.
Yeah.
So that's just a
The
dual
infected were
edged knife.
heavily de-emphasized on in this
Yeah.
game. Heavily.
And yeah, I mean, playing it now, it's clear to me that like, if you're on the internet, just it's so hard to like judge a game based on user reviews, even critic reviews.
Yeah.
It's just like, you gotta play it for yourself. And you know, everyone was saying, everyone said that even if they didn't like it, this is a game you have to play, and I 100% agree with that.
Yeah.
This is one of those games that, even if it's not like absolutely perfect, I almost gave it a near perfect rating. I thought it was just so well done on every avenue. But this is going to be one of those games that it's like God of War, Red Dead, Resident Evil 7, all that type of stuff. This is one of those modern games that like just kind of, you know, Sony just kind of puts out perfect quality every time, it feels like. There's just something about Sony games that like they seem to never miss. So I don't know.
Why'd you think we'd have different opinions on this?
I don't know. I thought you didn't like it very much.
Nope. I
But
really liked it.
I was very wrong.
I
was
really
very wrong.
liked it.
It's just because
I thought you were gonna dislike it a little more, but
no, I absolutely
based on how you talked about it, I thought you were gonna give it a bit of a lower rating than me. But you gave it a higher one. So.
the stuff I didn't like was overshadowed by the stuff that I really loved.
That's fair.
for me. So even if there were two big aspects that I didn't like, it didn't really take away from all the good.
Yeah.
Yep. But yeah,
Yep.
that's something else, man. Something else. I guess that's gonna be all she wrote. We'll see whenever the next game comes up. So whatever happens.
Well, I mean, what's next?
I don't even
that
know.
we would play
I
together.
don't even know what's next. From here,
Resident Evil is far away.
from here on out, I guess it's Resident Evil and whatever else comes in between, if there's ever anything.
Some sort of Outlast game, right?
Yeah, Outlast Trials
Yeah.
is not in. I don't think that's until 2021, unfortunately.
Mm.
But Outlast Trials is actually co-op, but
I knew that wouldn't be like your typical Outlast game.
it still looks freaking good.
It looks interesting.
Yeah, whatever happens next, I mean, maybe we'll play Cyberpunk together. That's going to be a big fat game, but
I'd be interested in seeing some of that for sure.
maybe we'll play that one together. That's going to be an endeavor to play through two people, but
Ghost of Tsushima looks cool too, but that might be one I just watch you play.
yeah, I'm 100% playing that one.
But Cyberpunk, I think that's one I'd actually like to play
That's
a little bit.
not until November. Freak, man. All right, well, that's going to be all she wrote. Thank you all for watching this series. 4.5 out of 5, 4 out of 5 for James, we will see you all whenever the next game pops up. And thank you all for watching.